this is kind of what pushed me into the world of social media in the first place, because I remember having a conversation with someone in clinic, and we sat down, we were talking about his risk of prediabetes and the numbers that were all skew-if and stuff. And actually what happened is when I'd written down a whole number of recipes, like oats and some other salad recipes. I can't remember exactly what they were, but one of them was definitely how
Pretty
to make
cool to be getting
oats
recipes from your doctor.
I know,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Which is why I was always running late in clinic, right? Because I got known as the doctor that would prescribe
Dr.
recipes
Sprout,
and actually
Dr.
talk about-
Vegetable.
Dr. Vegetables, yeah. Who talked to people about food, whether it was arthritis or type 2 diabetes or whatever. So I remember distinctly, I told him this recipe about oats. I'm like, you just add, some dried fruit for sugar instead of your normal sugar, and then some pumpkin seeds and some other sort of healthy fats and all the rest of it. And I sent him away with this piece of paper. And as he was leaving, he just turned back to me and he was like, "Oh, just one more thing, doctor. How do you make oats?" And that's when the penny dropped for me, that it wasn't so much that people didn't know what they should be eating. I think everyone can reasonably understand, okay, increase fruit and vegetables, reduce the processing and maybe have less takeaways, that kind of thing. But we've lost culinary literacy, I think, over the last few decades. It would have been really commonplace for
Nice
someone.
word, culinary literacy.
Yeah, I think like being like lots of literacy, like financial literacy, culinary literacy, a whole bunch of skills that we've lost over the last few decades. And it's a really, really important thing when it comes to the battle against chronic disease.
It's fundamental. It's the fundamental of our existence.
Absolutely. And so when that person told me, how do you cook oats? That was really the realization that it can't be enough for me to just give information. It can't even be enough for me to provide recipes. I've literally got to show people the basics of how to cook. And that's where, Instagram and YouTube and all that kind of stuff started for me. And then ultimately cookbooks. But the other thing that I've realized is that it's about consistency, not just the fact that you can make a salad or, oats once or twice a week. It really comes down fundamentally to how consistently, how often you can eat in a way that is according to the guidelines that most people understand. So at least 5 fruits and vegetables per day, should be actually closer to 10 a day, using some recent epidemiological studies. But also getting wholesome foods in and deprocessing your diet. The other thing that I want people to realize is that you are fighting a huge battle against big food companies that recognize the impact of marketing, that impact of essentially curating flavors and tastes that hit the bliss point in your brain, right? So I don't want to mention a particular chip brand, but let's say like there is a crisp or chip brand that everyone recognizes. They have spent literally millions honing the impact of the crunch, the texture, the flavor, the salt to sweet ratio to hit what they describe as the bliss point. And there are studies on this actually as well. And they market the hell out of it by leaning into what people love, the aspirational nature of like pop stars or musicians or sports stars. Like there's a reason why all these different major companies have these figureheads. Is because they know when you're hit with all these different things, the taste of it, the marketing of it, the appeal of it, the fun nature of it, the characters, all that kind of stuff, you're going to be driven to eating those kind of products. And so you are fighting against that. And we've lost, I think, the appreciation for those bitter tones, those bitter flavors in like natural whole foods.
Leaves earlier.
Exactly. Yeah. We just went to your farm and I'm literally having my mind blown by all these different flavors because I'm like dialed in and I'm intuitive to know about like the polyphenol content of some of the veg that we were eating, like the pak choi flowers and stuff. It's amazing. And that for me is like incredible. But it takes time to retrain your taste buds to appreciate those bitter notes if you're coming from a very processed diet, which is over here, which is, full of fillers and artificial flavors. Your brain needs to adapt to have
And isn't that
more.
a huge part of it? Is that like, I think it was called, what was your man, Doug Lyle, who coined the phrase the pleasure trap, that we're like, we're evolved to crave, like to be energy efficient, to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And it's natural because energy efficient is so wired into us. We're seeking for foods that are higher in calories because they're going to give us a greater serotonin release ultimately. And that's part of the problem, that pre-industrial revolution, we ate whole foods, or we ate food that we killed if we ate animal foods, versus in modern day society we now have foods with the fiber removed, the fat at that beautiful bliss point, so sweet, delicious. I think that's part of the problem, isn't it? Is largely down to just the proliferation of processed foods.
And well, I think statistically it's something like 55% of the calories in the UK are ultra processed foods, and it's increasing year on year. And it's something similar in Ireland.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's probably even higher than that. You know, if you look at the abundance of ultra high processed foods, but I think there is like a way out, and it comes down to being aware of the fact that we are designed to love foods that are high calorie, high salt, high sugar, but then retraining your taste buds to appreciate all those other whole natural foods that we understand, but also understanding that there are huge insidious pressures on your brain as soon as you go into a supermarket, as soon as you see an advert on TV, which is why it's amazing that we haven't banned junk food ads, and that's been kicked down the road to October 2025 now, which I think was one of the triggers for our food czar in England to resign, because he was like, this insane inaction by the government is just speaks of the lobbying pressures from big food, the fact that we haven't banned junk food advertising when we know it has a direct correlation with people consuming more of these products, people who are usually in the most vulnerable positions where they're dealing with financial pressures, etc. That just should not be allowed. It's something that is pretty devastating, I think, for a lot of people who find themselves in a poverty trap, but also a health poverty trap as well. But that once you understand that, then you can make conscious decisions to choose the foods that actually serve your health, and choose a path that actually makes your determines a better health picture for you.